I often say that thinking is something we were never taught in schools, at least not in a way that is needed today. So then the question is, how do we learn that? One of the ways to do it is by doing it and observing. But what is thinking? Are there different ways to think? And how do other people do it?
And most of the times I think it's a subconscious phenomena, so we don't even realize that we are thinking.
Welcome back to the second episode of How to Think, the art and science of thinking. Here I bring you different perspectives and insights. And of course, I want to give you some practical tips to help you get better and smarter. But I want you to think about one key question. Do you think?
Of course I do. Like everybody does. It's a continuous process, right? I mean, our cognitive system, as long as it works, I think we are thinking, whether we like or we don't. And most of the times, I think it's a subconscious phenomena, so we don't even realize that we are thinking. But we all think, and so do I.
The goal of thinking can be different on different occasions. It also drives how you think, your thinking philosophy. So, what's your thinking philosophy?
Every person probably have their peculiar way of thinking, and I have mine. So for me, thinking typically leads to some kind of opinion or some perception. My thinking is typically oriented towards building perception, building an opinion, and thinking leads to building some kind of a secret sauce. So the richer the perception that I have about something, I think eventually when it gets applied to decision making, the decisions are far better. So for me, thinking is the way or the recipe to create a rich sauce that leads to decision making.
Ideally, you want to practice all the different ways of thinking. The problem starts when we confine it only to one type. Some people think only to make a decision, others do that all the time. They keep organizing their thoughts, much like folder management we do on our computers. The challenge of not doing this type of thinking is that when we have to make decisions, it becomes taxing. It takes more time, or sometimes we tend to make more mistakes.
So I think one of the first steps is to figure out what you're thinking about. And one of the most important aspect when you're thinking, your thinking is always influenced by something, right? Especially the stimulus that comes externally. And say I'm a marketer, and as a marketer, I would definitely like to influence people's thinking. All our efforts, all our budgets, everything that we do is trying to hack the buyer's mind, hacking them to believe that what we offer is the right product or solution. Being a marketer, I understand the influence that a marketer can exert on somebody's thinking. So if I want to buy something, I will probably, try to keep the external stimulus. I wouldn't say away. You can't really get away from it, right? I mean, in the modern world, the digital world, I think you've been, a target of somebody trying to or attempting to hack your brain. But keeping the influences away. That is probably the second thing. Third thing that I probably do is I think about long-term impacts. The fourth thing that I typically want to do is paint a picture. If I don't buy the car, right? What will happen? So really think from a negative perspective, and then you're taking a big decision. Typically, when you're talking to your family, your friends, there are these opposite viewpoints that come in. What you try to do is, you're thinking about how do I rebuttal to a negative point. What happens is then you're looking at that particular thinking process from 360 degrees, right? You're looking at you're thinking good things, you're thinking bad things, and then the analysis part. So last part is the analysis. And so that's my personal view on the thinking process.
Now, this is important. External stimuli and influences can sway your thinking in a significant way. So, staying away from them or avoiding them is much better. It's much better for your thinking brain as well as your pockets. We talked about thinking for making decisions. But what if it is simply about your opinion? If I ask you, what do you think of an Iron Man? How would you respond to that? And how would you articulate your response? What do you think of an Iron Man?
I think he's brave and cool.
Okay. Would you like to be like him?
Yes. Yes, I would like to be him.
And why do you think you can be like him?
It's simple. All I have to do is just attach some rocket boosters to my feet, make a suit, and done. Just I'm not sure about the light in the chest thing.
Yeah. And why do you think you can do it?
Why not?
So you rightly said when a question like that is asked, these questions, there are no decisions related to it. There are no outcomes that you'll have to really apply of the thinking towards doing anything. So that's one part, right? So free thinking kind of leads to building, your own ability to, do things. I think Iron Man mainly the brain power, right? See, he used the brain power in a logical way. He used science and technology to build something for him. And as a person who believes in science and technology, I think we will, as a human being, we will be able to achieve those technological advances, right? So there are two things that have happened here. One is I have sort of opened my horizon, thought freely. Secondly, I have also given it some logical backbone, right? It's not fantasy. It is some logical backbone on which I think it is possible.
I think free range thinking is very much essential for shaping our thought process in general. Because without that, our thinking will always be driven or swayed by external influences. I think for us to have our opinion, truly our opinion, we need to do this defragmentation activity on a regular basis.
We all get influenced, and when we are growing up, right? Specifically from my life, I think we were a very close knit family, and my parents had a certain way of thinking, and they were sort of building their careers, and they were moving up the ladder, right? And they always thought that that is the way to think and take decisions, and they wanted very naturally to imbibe their thinking, their way of thinking into their kids.
Exactly. That's how it works. Our surrounding, society, our family, and the community around us significantly impacts how we think. And that keeps constantly evolving. So the question is, how can we develop our own style, our own philosophy, and principles of thinking?
Our brain and our cognitive system, right? It's an amazing machine. However, it is not infallible. So your brain is hackable. The earlier that you realize that your brain is hackable, I think the better judgments can eventually happen, right? Better thinking can happen. You can be wrong is the mantra here, right? So if somebody says that, I think you need to accept it graciously and probably dwell a little bit as why that has been said.
The question of how to think makes us think. The process can be complex, twisted, and extremely intertwined. Keeping our thinking as independent as possible and away from external influence will be the key. Politicians, marketers, businesses, and many other entities can make you think and do things against your will. People often use your ignorance to sell you something. So we cannot stay ignorant. We must expand our horizons. We must practice divergent and convergent thinking. And no matter what we do to improve and clarify our thinking, the key is to keep doing it. And while you do that, I will bring you another episode next month. Until then, keep thinking.